The average couple, if you're age 65, one of you are going to live to 90. The chances are strong. And a 25 or 30-year retirement is something that is certainly seen these days, and we don't plan for it. We don't put that much money up.
The 401k is one of the most commonly utilized tools for retirement planning in America, and there's lots of questions about them. We'll talk about them today on Financial Focus with John Kuykendall, founder, CEO of GulfCoast Financial Services. Now, GulfCoast Financial has been named Best of the Best in Financial Services 10 straight years and running, named by the readers of the Lake City Reporter. And John, we always appreciate you keeping us on track and financially focused. The 401k, a big part of the retirement picture.
Well, yeah, Peter, it's been the majority of the big part since the late 80s when we did away with defined benefit plans and that monthly paycheck, in retirement, and went with the 401k. You make what you save. So, it was put more off of the employer onto the employee. And it was a totally radical thing. A lot of people were excited about it because they were able to invest money out of their paycheck and watch it grow in the market. However, in a recent survey by one of the investment firms, people, retirees or employees, would rather have a check than have a 401k.
Is that why companies also liked making that transition? They don't have to be responsible for funding retirement like they used to when we had pensions?
Well, sure. A lot of the companies are underfunded anyway because people are living longer. They didn't plan. We weren't able to actuarially figure how much we needed. And so a lot of companies have had to put extra money into the accounts, the defined benefit plans, and they took that responsibility of paying that check. On the other hand, the employee took the responsibility that the company was going to be able to pay it as long as they were solvent and that they were going to get that check. So, it was kind of a tit tat, but the employers love the 401ks.
So we now have more personal investment and net worth due to having these 401ks, access to 401ks. Now, what is basically over the course of the entirety of a generation of career workers. And yet, John, we still have this doubt and worry and uncertainty of whether or not we've been able to manage to save enough.
Well, actually, Peter, I just in that same survey, it said that the majority of 401k investors had actually cut back their funding because of the volatility of the market and the uncertainty. So, employees, they're managing their own retirement funds, and we're not putting up enough. The average couple, if you're age 65, one of you are going to live to 90. The chances are strong. And a 25 or 30-year retirement is something that is certainly seen these days, and we don't plan for it. We don't put that much money up. Also, people tend to mismanage their 401ks. I don't know why a lot of people feel like it's free money. All of a sudden I've got this pile of cash over here and I'm going to quit my job instead of rolling it over. I'm just going to take it out and pay bills. And so we have this start, stop. And then later in life, they get more proactive about getting ready for retirement.
Well, I think there is a lot of mystery around the 401k, a lot of questions and concerns. You hit on a number of them there, John. But let's start with the benefits. I mean, you mentioned free money, and it's not like we can go out and blow it all and it doesn't have any repercussions or consequences. But the match of the 401k certainly has been one of the best benefits for retirement saving and investing.
Oh yeah, Peter, because I mean, let's say if I put up 4%, the company's going to put up 4%. So they're going to match dollar for dollar every dollar I put up. I mean, where can you get free money by just investing in your retirement? The other thing is that I'm going to be buying in at different prices. So I'm really dollar cost averaging in, and I'm going to be buying high, I'm going to be buying low, but over the length of my work, I'm going to be buying at different prices. And so I have the benefit of dollar cost average.
And we like that that's automatic as well.
Yes. Well, yeah, the automatic part, once you set it, you tend to forget it. People can live with what they take home if they don't understand, once they've set and got it set up how much they're going to take out, people don't have a problem with living on what they've set up. And so that's kind of like forgotten money. It's there, it's put up every paycheck, and it's growing for you.
And a lot of people, investors, John, have the question of, well, I've got some money to invest. What do I invest in? And sort of stall out at that step. The 401k sort of streamlines that decision-making process for us.
Well, that's right, Peter. It gives us certain options that we can invest in. Usually, target date funds now are really popular because I'm setting my retirement for 2040. So I'm going to put my money in a 2040 target fund that's geared for that. Stocks and bonds, both in the same portfolio. But that's also one of the problems because one of the negatives. We're limited to investments. I've only got a certain palette that I can invest in. And so I'm limited to what my employer is willing to let me invest in.
So double-edged sword there, both a
Yeah,
pro in that it gives us just a few options, but a drawback in that they are so limited. I
right.
know that John, there are some other concerns with the 401k, and you've spoken before, particularly as we get into that time nearing retirement, that while the 401k has been a great tool while we have been working, it might not be the best tool when we intend to no longer work for retirement. It may need some attention and adjustment.
Well, that's right, Peter. I mean, we're limited to the investments. And so what we have is in-service distributions. Some plans at 55 or 59 and a half, I can pull the money out of the 401, roll it over into a rollover IRA, and then invest it any way that I would like. So I get more options, I get more risk diversity, if you will, and more options to put my money into than just the ones that are defined for me by the company. Also, in some cases, the cost can be less. So, cost is a consideration.
The 401k generally can be significantly impacted by market volatility. I mean, it's
Mhm.
access to the market, to investments. That's
Right.
that's the point of the benefit over the long term. But when we've got a short time horizon, that volatility can have negative consequences if we time it out wrong. You've spoken about this before, sequence of returns risk.
That's right. Peter, as we talked about before on the show, sequence of return risk, pulling my money out at different levels. And when the market's down, I want to take less money out of that bucket than when the market's up because my money will run out quicker. And so you're right, the volatility, how much risk can I afford? I can take less risk in my own IRA than I can in the company's 401 because the company may not offer me as many options as in regard to bond funds, different target funds, the other things that are available.
There are also tax implications and consequences that we need to consider carefully and make decisions on with the 401k.
Yeah. Well, Peter, if we take the money out of the 401k, we are going to pay taxes. That's money that hasn't been taxed yet. And so if we're not careful, it could put us in a higher tax bracket or the highest tax bracket. I know an individual that wanted to build a home. So they took money out of their 401k and built their house. The problem was the taxes were 40 or $50,000 that they hadn't set aside because they took the money now. So there's certain ways that we need to take it out. If we're going to take it out, you're going to have the mandatory distributions later, which is a problem. And that's why if your employer has a Roth option, that may be the best way to go, Peter, as long as they still match, because I can take money out of my retirement, out of my paycheck, put it into a Roth, grows tax free, no minimum distributions, no taxes when I pull it out.
Now, you mentioned that in-service distribution. There are moments, John, different milestones or life events that can allow us the opportunity to take more control over those 401k dollars. And by the way, when we mention 401ks here, there are other company sponsored plans. The government employees, military has TSP, there's 403Bs. I know there's different kind of alphabet soup of the tax code, but most of these plans do have these different opportunities to roll over accounts or take control or ownership of our dollars at certain milestones.
Yeah, even like the Florida State Retirement System has a self-directed option within their plan where we can move the money over to another company and then self-direct how we invest it. So there are other options. And you're right, Peter, this alphabet 457s, 403Bs, they're all just nomenclature for retirement accounts, and we're talking about all of them. But there are certain milestones, birth of a baby, first time homeowners, certain things where we can pull money out. But if we pull money out before 59 and a half, we are going to pay the 10% penalty. And the one thing that a lot of people don't realize, the 401k is required to withhold 20% for taxes. You may not be in the 20% tax bracket, but they have to withhold 20% and send it to the government.
Uh, John, the importance of rebalancing these accounts over time, taking control where we can.
Mhm.
So if we've left an employer, if we've hit that age 59 and a half, if we're in that red zone right before retirement, but rebalancing all along the way, also an important and often overlooked element of the 401k.
Well, that's right, Peter. We don't want to be over dependent on one sector or one company. I remember back in the early 2000s when we had the big tech boom, 80% of a mutual fund could be invested in four stocks: Microsoft, Intel, and Apple, and so forth. So we want to make sure that we have diversity. We want to make sure that we're diversified for risk. And the more we can do along those lines, the better off we're going to be in the long run. But certainly, and when you leave a company and you have a 401k, you need to either roll it over into a rollover IRA for yourself or roll it into your present employer's pension. Don't have all these extra accounts out there, because what's going to happen is you're going to forget about them.
Mm.
And then one day they're going to write you a letter and say, we're either going to send you the money or you need to do something with this account.
Yeah, forgotten about, left behind orphaned accounts. There's a lot
Yeah.
of those out there and probably don't get the time and attention and maintenance that they deserve to make the most of those dollars that you've worked hard for. Also, John, want to emphasize that the 401k itself, it is not the most dependable tool for replacing the paycheck, not necessarily a dependable source of income after retirement, which is why, again, where we've got the opportunity to take control, that is generally suggested.
Well, yeah, Peter. And that's like I said, that survey said that majority of retirees now who are working would like to have, or people who are going to be retired, would like to have a paycheck instead of a 401k.
Well, the 401k is a great tool, but it is not a plan. You have to have a plan in order to make the most and most effective use out of all of the tools and opportunities that you have available. As always, that's why the team from GulfCoast Financial Services offers to put together the financially focused written retirement income plan for you, utilizing all of those tools, but bringing them together to complete the picture, looking at income, investments, taxes, healthcare, legacy, and all of the aspects of each. You got to get the plan in your hands to make the most of the current year and all the years moving forward, and have an outline of where you are today and where you want to get to. John, you offer to do that, no cost, no obligation. Put together that financially focused written retirement income plan, as well as a copy of the book. Quitting is for winners. Retirement is not for wimps. All folks need to do is give Gulf Coast Financial Services a call, 386-755-9018, 386-755-9018. Do you think that financially focused written retirement income plan is a benefit for those wondering what to do next with their 401ks?
Oh, yeah, Peter. I mean, how can we get from A to B if we don't know where we're going? And if we don't have a budget and we don't know how much money I'm going to need for retirement. And as I just said, retirement's going to be longer. people don't realize that you're going to be retired for about as long as you work or longer. And so we need to set up those retirement plans. We need to cover the taxes. We need to cover the required minimum distributions. We need to maximize Social Security. All those things go into the plan, and you can't get from A to B without having a way to get there. And so we're going to give you the vehicle. It's not going to be a Rolls Royce, but it's going to be a dependable Chevrolet that's going to get you from one end to the other end.
Well, if you would like to learn how to retire, how to pay less in taxes, make the most of your opportunities, keep more of your money, then call Gulf Coast Financial Services for the financially focused written retirement income plan, 386-755-9018. That is 386-755-9018. You can also visit online, GulfCoastFinancial.net. That is GulfCoastFinancial.net. John, I always appreciate the opportunity to speak with you about one of our most important retirement planning tools, those 401ks.
It is, Peter, and it was really great being here with you. And I just got to tell you that even though you just had your birthday, you don't look a bit older.
I appreciate it. Yeah, not older than last week, but probably a little older than I was 10, 15 years ago. I've seen the pictures. I know it, John.
Have a good week.
All right, I appreciate it. You too, bud.
Be sure to like, subscribe, share, and tune in for more financial focus by visiting GulfCoastFinancial.net. The information presented on this program is provided for informational purposes only, without warranty of accuracy, completeness, or suitability for a particular purpose. This program is not intended to be and does not constitute financial, investment, legal, or tax advice. This information is general in nature and not specific enough to be construed as advice. You should not make any decision based on the information presented on this program without independent consultation with an appropriately licensed professional or competent advisor. Investment in securities or the market involves a potential risk for loss of principal. Trading, therefore, may not be suitable for all listeners. Annuity guarantees are based solely on the financial strength and claims-paying ability of the issuing company. Withdrawals of growth from annuities may be taxable as ordinary income in the year it is taken. Individuals should review contracts for specific details of the product's features and costs. Early withdrawals may subject the owner to penalties, fees, or taxes. John Kuykendall is registered with and securities are offered through Kovacs Securities Inc., member FINRA SIPC, found online at www.kovacsecurities.com. Advisory services are offered through Gulf Coast Financial Services Inc., a registered investment advisor in Florida. Gulf Coast Financial Services Inc. is not affiliated with Kovacs Securities Inc. or Kovac Advisors Inc. Past performance is not indicative of future results. All investing involves risk. Investment decisions should be based on your own goals, time horizon, and tolerance for risk. Due to various factors including changing market conditions and/or applicable laws, the content may no longer be reflective of current opinions or positions. Gulf Coast Financial Services Inc. has been named as Best of the Best since 2015 in the category of Best Financial Advisor in the Lake City, Florida area. The award was based on receiving the most votes in this category from a survey offered and tabulated by the Lake City Reporter. No direct or indirect compensation was provided to the Lake City Reporter and/or any raters, and the award is not contingent on future direct or indirect compensation offered to the newspaper and/or raters. Portfolio performance is not a criterion, and voting is open to any readers of the newspaper.